In a nutshell, what we're going to be doing today is a very special meditation that is meant very specifically for healing. For healing ourselves as individuals, but more important, can there be something more important? Yes, there is. Healing the earth. Healing the earth. And let me explain what I mean by that being even more important, actually. When we focus on ourselves and our needs alone, including even with healing, will we get healed? Maybe, maybe not. But one way to absolutely guarantee that the grace of God descends upon us is to focus not merely upon ourselves, but that which is seemingly outside of ourselves. So, it is by focusing very specifically on healing the earth and on healing others that, due to that selflessness, we ourselves in time become healed. Now, let me back up a little bit. For those who have seen our videos in the past, you know that we've put out 2 videos specifically, The Coming Golden Age, and then a follow-up video called Preparing for the Coming Golden Age. And both of those videos have been extremely popular. They've been our most popular yet. To use the IT parlance, they've gone viral. Many thousands of people have seen these 2 videos. And what these 2 videos focus on is indeed the idea, the understanding, that we are indeed going through a time of transition right now. And more, that we are indeed about to enter into a golden age. Now, having said that, this is not a controversial statement. There are so many spiritual people at this point from so many traditions who confirm this, who have also this general idea that the times in which we are living right now, right today, is rather different from times that have been experienced in the past. Many spiritual leaders, gurus, people of all sorts of descriptions, even just normal, common people who have a very good spiritual intuition about them, understand that indeed something important is about to happen. Something important is indeed about to happen. And there are many confirmations of this, not just the Mayan 2012 prophecies, but also the Vedic scriptures, also the Buddhist scriptures, and many other places talk about what is about to happen. Now again, having said that, let me back up a little bit more. The time in which we are currently living is a time of tremendous pain for the earth, very specifically. It has been a time, and it's hard to point out exactly when this started. Some people say, oh, just for the last few decades, the last 50 years, the last 100 years. It doesn't matter exactly when it started. To pinpoint exactly when is very difficult. But for some time now, we understand that spiritual normality, the natural way, the way in which the earth herself wishes to live and to nourish us, has been under assault. It's been under assault by humanity. It's been under assault by our greed, by our lust, by our anger, by our ignorance. We have polluted the earth. We have bombed into her. We have bombed over her. You know, I mean, I can go on and on speaking negatively about all the things that we have done to harm the earth, to harm each other, with war, with disease, with illness, with genocide, with so many different things that have occurred. And we know that the earth is not happy. How do we know this? You just have to listen, and you can hear her groaning. You just have to listen, and you can hear her groaning. It's a very interesting thing how in the Vedic scriptures, very specifically, in many places, it talks very specifically about this interesting phenomenon that occurs. First of all, we have to understand that the earth herself is, of course, a living thing, a living being. And not just a living being, but very specifically a personality. She's our mother. In the Sanskrit language, she's known as Bhumi or Bhudevi, Prithvi, several different words that are used to describe the concept that the earth herself is indeed alive. And of course, we have this concept all throughout the world. Every traditional culture, every ancient culture agrees with this. This is why in Greek she's known as Gaia. Even in just common parlance, she's Mother Earth, even just in the materialistic West, she's Mother Earth. So we have this idea, this notion that indeed the earth is alive. Interestingly, in the Vedic scriptures, it explains several instances in the very long course of the history of the earth when the earth, being burdened by everything that I was just talking about, all of these problems, but more, the behavior of human beings. As a result of these burdens, she herself will begin to experience discomfort. You know, it's interesting. The ways in which we harm the earth are not just the overt ways that I just mentioned, war, pollution, etc., etc. But in the scriptures very specifically, it talks about the subtle ways in which the earth is affected by our human activity upon the earth. It actually says in the scriptures that every time human beings engage in lies, it hurts the earth. Every time human beings engage in what is called adharma, the opposite of dharma, that the earth is pained. At the time that Bhagavan Sri Krishna was here, over 5,100 years ago, for example, it is actually explained that the earth herself was in pain due to the burden of having to support hundreds and hundreds and thousands of evil kings and politicians who were greedy and warring against each other. And when it comes to the point where the earth herself just cannot take the pain anymore, she does something about it. In the case of 5,100 years ago, when Lord Krishna was here, and I'm not sure how many people here know this, I think probably a few people, hopefully quite a few people know this. Why did Krishna come as an avatar? He came because Bhudevi, literally the personification of the earth herself, again, feeling this burden of being constantly under assault, not just physical, but moral assault, decided to approach the gods and formed herself into the form of a sacred cow. And in that form, she went to Brahma. She went to the highest being within this material realm. And she begged him. She said, please do something about this. All of these evil politicians and kings and rulers, they don't care about dharma. They don't care about human life. All they do is war against each other and just fight each other for wealth, for land, for position. Please do something to alleviate my suffering. And it was as a result of this that Brahma decided, yes, I am not myself even powerful enough to do anything, but I will meditate and I will communicate with Narayana and ask him to come to earth. And that was Krishna. That was Krishna. So, today we are in a similar situation. I don't think that's any exaggeration to say this. I think we are overburdened with evil politicians, with rulers who care only about their own greed, who care only about the acquisition of land, who care only about themselves, and do not care about spirituality, do not care about love, do not care about compassion. So the earth needs healing. Now, let me go a little bit deeper. Not only does the earth in general need healing, but human beings today need healing. We have seen that, again, can't pinpoint exactly when this began, but last several decades, we've seen that people are miserable. We've seen that people are suffering, and more than just physically. You know, physically we can become healed. You just go to a doctor. But deeper than this, mentally, emotionally, inwardly, in people's psyches, they are depressed, they are wounded, they are traumatized, they are unhappy. You know, again, anyone who is sensitive enough and who lives in this world the way things are occurring today, with the economic depression, with, again, people just not trusting each other, with the breakdown of just normal etiquette and respect that people used to have for each other in society, with all of these breakdowns that have occurred, what we see is that people are just not happy. They're just in anxiety, always. Anxiety, anxiety, anxiety. Just as an aside, what does the term Vaikuntha mean? First, we know Vaikuntha is one of the names for the spiritual realm, but what's the literal meaning?
No anxiety.
No anxiety. Isn't it interesting how one of the names for the spiritual realm is that place of no anxiety? And yet today we are experiencing nothing but anxiety. What does that tell us? What does that tell us? So this is what we have created, a realm that is the opposite of the spiritual realm in every way imaginable. So people need healing, but more than physical, they need spiritual healing. We need to be healed first from within. And once having been healed from within, obviously all the peripheries will be taken care of as well. You know, I've given this example before, but it's just a very vivid example. So let me give this again, especially for people who are somewhat new here. If you can envision this massive tree, enormous tree, in your mind's eye, and the tree has hundreds and hundreds of branches, and on each of the branches there are hundreds, if not thousands, of leaves. Okay? Now, if you want to water those leaves, if you want to make sure that each of those leaves gets the nourishment that it needs, what do? Do you go to each individual leaf and give it a little bit of water? Of course not. The entire tree will die. Instead, you go to one place, the root. You place the nourishment at the root, and everything else is taken care of. Every individual leaf is nourished. Well, of course, each one of us is a leaf. God is the root. Bhagavan, God is the root. When we focus on healing ourselves spiritually, everything on the peripheries are taken care of. Everything. So what I wanted to do today is something very special. Again, given the fact that we are indeed in a very important time of transition, where we are within the next year or so about to experience something truly wondrous, something that only comes about once every many thousands of years, now is a time for us to begin focusing our healing intentions toward the earth and toward all living beings upon the earth. And the way that I want to do this very specifically is, and we'll do this in just a short time, just another 5 minutes or so, I want us to focus on meditating very specifically on the Brahma Gayatri mantra. The Gayatri mantra. It's unfortunate that given the American new ageification of spirituality, no one really knows anything and people just kind of make everything up. Thus, if you were to go to the internet and punch in healing mantra, every single mantra humanly conceivable will come up with individuals claiming, oh, this mantra is healing. Often not providing much of any explanation at all for why that's the case. Not every mantra is meant to be specifically healing. The Brahma Gayatri mantra is indeed one of the few mantras that is. The Brahma Gayatri mantra is a very special mantra. It is one of the few mantras that is found in all four of the Veda Samhitas, in all four of the Vedic literatures. And the Gayatri mantra is a mantra that is very specific in how it works. And I don't want to go very deeply into a complete explanation of the Gayatri mantra because I've done this in the past, and we even have a video up on YouTube where I go very deeply into the nature of Gayatri. Instead, I just want to focus on specifically the healing aspect of the Gayatri mantra. Several things to be said about this mantra. First, the mantra itself is a mantra that incorporates and let's say affects all of reality, all of the various strata and levels of reality, both geographically but also ontologically. In other words, both as far as the various planetary systems that are understood to exist in Vedic cosmology, but also it affects us on the various levels of who we are, on the physical, on the mental, on the intellectual, and ultimately on the spiritual. Okay? That's the first thing. Second thing is, as I was saying earlier, healing begins within, first and foremost. Healing begins within. This being the case, this mantra is very special in that it is asking for the healing and illumining light of the divine to appear deep within our minds. Thus, Dhimahi is one of the words that makes this specifically a Gayatri mantra. And we've discussed how there are many Gayatris, but this is the primary one of them. When you see this word, Dhimahi, What is being asked is that our minds, our inner selves, be illuminated by the presence of God, by the presence of the divine. Okay? So again, this is a very, very special mantra. Let me maybe just say one more thing, and then we'll actually do the mantra. Sometimes there's a little bit of confusion about what is the nature of this mantra, because translated one way, it can seem as if it is a mantra that is praising Savitra, Surya, the sun. On the other hand, it's understood that no, it's in actuality praising Brahman, it's praising God. That's why it's actually even known as Brahma Gayatri. Brahma meaning Brahman. The sun is used as an analogy for God. The light of the sun is used as an analogy for the light of God. And more than this, the analogy goes one step further. All throughout the Vedic scriptures, it explains the purifying nature of the sun. How, for example, you can have a puddle of water that can be absolutely filthy, but if the sun is beating down on it, beating down on it, beating down on it, the power of the sun is such that that little pond of filthy water will eventually evaporate and become nothing. So the sun is seen as healing. The sun is seen as healing in Ayurveda and in actually many of the traditions of the world. But again, the sun is an analogy for Brahman, for the Absolute, for God. So what this mantra is appealing to specifically is the healing power of the divine. And that light, that healing light and power of the divine will illumine our inner selves in such a way that we become transformed. So we see how this Brahma Gayatri is indeed a healing mantra. So before we do the meditation, I just want to go over the mantra with everyone, because not everyone may be completely conversant with this mantra. And we'll go through the actual Sanskrit itself, just the pronunciation, and then I'll read the translation. This is my translation. I translated this from the Vedic Sanskrit. So first, Om Bhur Bhuvah Swaha Tat Savitur Varanyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yonah Prachodhayatam. That's the mantra. That's how each word is pronounced. The meter that we're going to do it in will be a little bit different. We're going to do a stricter Gayatri meter, one of the several Gayatri meters. Let me read the translation. I invoke the earth plane. That's Bhur. That's Bhu. The astral plane, Bhuvaha. The plane of intellect and the plane of absolute truth. O great spiritual light, which is the brilliance of divinity, we meditate upon you. Please illumine our minds. So that's an exact translation. Again, this is my translation, and I tried to be as close to the exact original meanings as possible. So what I would like us all to do now is to do a little bit of meditation using this mantra. And as we're doing this, very specifically, let me first explain how we'll do it. At first, we'll just be silent for about a minute, simply focusing on our breath, allowing our minds to become calm, allowing the body to just be free of anxiety. Then after some time, out loud, and if you haven't done this, don't be shy, don't worry. Out loud, we'll say the mantra all together, and again, don't be afraid to say it a little bit loudly, so that we have a nice reverberation going in the room. As you are saying the mantra, focus on healing, and very specifically focus on the light of the divine, as it says in the mantra itself. Focus on the light of the divine, quite literally covering the entire earth and every sentient being upon the earth. Focus on this, and focus on the earth herself and every sentient being. That means every being with consciousness. That means literally every human being, every animal. Think of your pets. Think of every blade of grass. Think of every tree. Think of every leaf on every tree. Literally, imagine every sentient being at peace experiencing joy, experiencing healing in their lives, however they need it. And in this way, we will help to bring about this golden age, this wonderful, beautiful age that we are all hoping will come as soon as possible. All right? And then we'll end the meditation by, again, silence for about a minute, and then all together saying Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. All right? Good. So let's begin first with just silent breath concentration. Jai Shriman Narayana. And everyone together. Om Bhurabhuva Swaha Tatsaviturvarenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yonah Prachodayata. Om Bhurabhuva Swaha Tatsaviturvarenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yonah Prachodayata. Om Bhurabhuva Swaha Tatsaviturvarenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yonah Prachodayata. Om Bhurabhuva Swaha Tatsaviturvarenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yonah Prachodayata. Om Bhurabhuva Swaha Tatsaviturvarenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yonah Prachodayata. Om Bhurabhuva Swaha Tatsaviturvarenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yonah Prachodayata. Om Bhurbhuva Swaha Tatsaviturvarenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yonah Prachodayat. Om Bhurbhuva Swaha Tatsaviturvarenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yonah Prachodayat. Om Bhurbhuva Swaha Tatsaviturvarenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yonah Prachodayat. Om Bhurbhuva Swaha Tatsaviturvarenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yonah Prachodayat. Om Bhurbhuva Swaha Tatsaviturvarenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yonah Prachodayat. Om Bhurbhuva Swaha Tatsaviturvarenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yonah Prachodayat. And everyone together. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti.